The verdict echoed through the crystalline chamber of the Galactic Accord like a death knell, each word reverberating against walls that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Salen felt her translucent skin ripple with distress as the council speaker's pronouncement settled over the assembled delegates like a suffocating shroud. The Nerari species demonstrates no measurable military potential, no significant scientific advancement, and negligible political influence, the speaker intoned, its multifaceted eyes scanning the vast assembly without emotion. After thorough evaluation, the Council hereby removes the Nerari for the Protected Species Registry. Resources previously allocated for their defense will be redirected to species of greater strategic value. Salen's tendrils involuntarily coiled around her seat's support beam, the only thing keeping her upright as the words crashed over her. She was the last of her kind here, the final representative of a species that had sung the stars in a harmony for millennia. Around her, hundreds of alien delegates murmured among themselves, some with sympathy, most with indifference. The Nerari were soft-bodied, slow-moving creatures who had never developed weapons or warships. In the calculus of galactic politics, they were expendable. The massive holographic display above the council chamber flickered to life, showing the lush forests of her homeworld. Even from here, she could sense the bioresonance fields that connected every living thing on Nerari Prime. Her people's greatest gift, the ability to perceive and harmonize with the emotional states of other life forms, meant nothing to beings who measured worth in firepower and economic output. As delegates began to file out of the chamber, their various locomotion methods creating a symphony of clicks, whirs, and shuffles, Salen remained seated. The Interrex, a predatory species from a neighboring system, had been encroaching on Nerari territory for cycles. Without the Accord's protection, her people would be defenseless against their razor-sharp claws and relentless hunger. The evacuation ships were already departing. Through the transparent dome overhead, Salen watched as vessel after vessel disengaged from the station's docking rings, their engines painting trails of light across the star-studded void. The Vorthan battle cruisers, the Zelanian science vessels, even a neutral observation craft of the Mentari, all abandoning the Nerari to their fate. Yet as the last of the diplomatic vessels pulled away, one ship remained. Its hull bore the distinctive blue and green sphere of Earth, a relatively young member of the Accord. Salen's photosensitive patches detected movement in the human delegation section. A lone figure in a crisp military uniform was making his way down the tiered seating, moving against the tide of departing beings. "You're Salen, aren't you?" The human's voice was surprisingly warm, lacking the clinical detachment she'd come to expect from other species. His insignia identified him as Major Cornvale of the Earth Defense Initiative. Salen's vocal sac expanded slightly, producing the melodious tones of her native language before remembering to switch to Galactic Standard. "I am, though I suspect I won't hold the title of ambassador much longer. There seems little point in representing a species the galaxy has deemed worthless." Vale's eyes, those strange, mobile organs that humans use for vision, narrowed slightly. "Worthless? That's the Council's assessment, not mine." He gestured to the empty seats around them. "You'll notice my ship hasn't left. The Earth delegation receives no strategic benefit from remaining," Salen observed, her confusion evident in the shifting patterns of her skin. "Your species is still establishing itself in the Accord. Opposing the Council's decision could jeopardize your standing." A smile played at the corners of Vale's mouth. "Maybe we're too new to know what we're supposed to care about. Or maybe," he paused, looking up at the holographic display of Nerari Prime, where schools of aerial jellies drifted through sunset-painted skies. "Maybe we remember what it's like to be dismissed." The chamber's environmental systems hummed in the silence that followed. Salen felt something she hadn't experienced since the verdict, a faint resonance of hope. "Why?" she finally asked. "Why would Earth risk its position for the Nerari?" Vale's expression grew serious. "Because humanity has a bad habit of doing what's right instead of what's easy. My government has authorized me to offer Earth protection to your people, not because of strategy or politics, but because it's unconscionable to stand by while an entire species faces extinction. Salen's tendrils quivered with a mix of emotions too complex for galactic standard to express. The Council will not approve. The other species will see this as defiance. Then they'll see defiance, Vale replied, straightening his uniform. Humanity didn't climb out of the gravity well of our homeworld just to become another cog in a machine that discards lives based on military potential. We stay. We help. That's not negotiable. As if summoned by his words, the Earth vessel's running lights pulsed in sequence, a visual confirmation of Vale's offer. Salen felt the bioresonance field around her shift, carrying her emotional state back to her homeworld. For the first time since entering the chamber, her people would sense something other than despair from their ambassador. Your species confuses me, Salen admitted, her form relaxing slightly. You possess the weapons and technology the Council values, yet you choose to act on. What is your term? Conscience. It's what makes us human, Vale said simply. Now, I suggest we return to your world. We have work to do. As they made their way toward the docking ring, Salen caught a glimpse of their reflection in the polished walls. A human soldier and an Aurarii diplomat, two unlikely allies in a galaxy that had just become far more complicated. The Council had spoken, the galaxy had listened, and everyone had abandoned the Aurarii. Everyone except humanity. The shuttle ride to Aurarii Prime passed in a blur of preparation and protocol. Vale spent most of the journey reviewing topographical data and defense assessments, while Salen fielded increasingly frantic communications from her homeworld. The news of humanity's decision to stay had sparked equal parts hope and skepticism among her people. They want to know your intentions, Salen translated after a particularly lengthy exchange with the Elder Council. Many fear you seek to exploit our bioresonance abilities for military purposes. Vale looked up from his datapad, his expression thoughtful. Can't say I blame them. Most species in the Accord would see your abilities as a weapon to be harnessed. He set the device aside and leaned forward. But I'm more interested in understanding what makes the Aurarii unique. Your file mentions bioresonance fields and emotional harmonics, but the technical descriptions don't really capture what that means. Salen's skin patterns shifted to a softer hue, indicating contemplation. It's difficult to explain to species who perceive the universe primarily through electromagnetic radiation. We sense the emotional texture of living things. The joy of seedlings reaching for sunlight, the contentment of grazers in tall grass, the anxiety of prey sensing predators. We don't just observe these states. We experience them, and we can influence them. Influence how? Vale asked, genuine curiosity replacing his earlier professional demeanor. Through resonance, we can calm distressed creatures, encourage growth in plants, even mediate conflicts between competing species. But it requires physical proximity and, she paused, searching for the right words, emotional authenticity. We cannot project false emotions or manipulate against a creature's nature. The shuttle shuddered slightly as it entered Aurarii Prime's atmosphere. Through the viewports, vast forests stretched to the horizon, their canopy a riot of bioluminescent colors that shifted with the planet's unique photocycle. Your people have been doing this for how long? Vale wondered aloud. Since before we had language to describe it. It's who we are. Salen's voice carried a note of pride, tinged with sadness. But the Council sees no military application, no economic value. We cannot weaponize empathy. Vale was quiet for a moment, then spoke with unexpected intensity. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs. Their landing site was a clearing in the ancient Lumia groves, where trees older than human civilization reached toward the stars. The Elder Council waited in a semicircle, their aged forms rippling with anxiety. Salen had never seen so many emotional patterns displayed at once. Fear, hope, doubt, and curiosity created a visual symphony across their gathered bodies. The eldest among them, Thimal, moved forward with the careful grace of advanced years. Ambassador Salen, you return with unusual allies. The universal translator rendered his melodious speech into flat galactic standard, losing the harmonic undertones that conveyed additional meaning. Honored Elder, Salen began, but Vale stepped forward, offering a formal bow that surprised everyone present. Elder Thymau, I'm Major Corn Vale of Earth. I'm here to help, if you'll have us. The gathering erupted in a cascade of harmonics as the elders debated among themselves. Salen caught fragments, concerns about human motives, fears of cultural contamination, desperate hope for survival. The humans propose an alliance, Salen interjected, her own harmonics cutting through the chaos. Not as conquerors or saviors, but as partners. Partners in what? Thimel's patterns showed deep skepticism. We have nothing to offer. The council's judgment was clear. Vale's communicator chirped, and he glanced at it briefly before responding. With respect, Elder, the council measures value by a narrow standard. My team includes xenobiologists, anthropologists, and yes, military advisors. We're not here to change who you are. We're here to help you survive as you are. A younger elder, Myron, pushed forward. The Interrex gather at our borders. Their hunting packs grow bolder each day. Without the Accord's protection, they will overrun the southern groves within cycles. What can your empathy do against their claws? The question hung heavy in the air. Salen felt the collective despair of her people, a weight that threatened to pull her down. But Vale remained steady, his emotional signature, strange and alien as it was, projecting quiet confidence. Traditional military solutions aren't the only answer, he said. But first, I need to understand something. Your bioresonance. Can it interface with non-biological systems? The question seemed to perplex the elders. It was Salen who answered, We've never attempted such a thing. Our abilities evolved to harmonize with living creatures. Machines have no emotional resonance. But their operators do, Vale pointed out. And modern human drones use neural interface technology. If we could combine your abilities with our systems. He trailed off, mind clearly racing with possibilities. You propose to weaponize our nature. Thimel's patterns flared with indignation. No, Vale said firmly. I propose to find new applications for it. Ways to protect without killing, to defend without destroying. But it would require trust and courage to try something unprecedented. The debate that followed stretched long into Nerariii Prime's extended twilight. Arguments raged back and forth, with traditionalists citing the ancient ways and progressives pushing for adaptation. Salen found herself caught between worlds, understanding her people's fears while seeing potential in Vale's unconventional ideas. Finally, as the first moon crested the horizon, Thymau raised a tendril for silence. You ask us to trust not just in your intentions, but in our own untested potential. This is difficult. The difficult choices usually are, Vale acknowledged. But consider the alternative. The elders' patterns shifted through a complex sequence of resignation and resolve. We will attempt your experiment, human. But know this, if we fail, if we lose ourselves in your machines and warfare, the responsibility will be yours to bear. Vale met the alien's gaze steadily. Understood, Elder. We won't let you down. As the gathering dispersed, Salen lingered with Vale in the grove. The Lumia trees pulsed with gentle bioluminescence, responding to the emotional currents around them. You're taking an enormous risk, she observed. Your superiors on Earth must have doubts. Vale smiled, but didn't quite reach his eyes. They do. Some think I'm naive. Others worry about the precedent we're setting. But sometimes, he looked up at the canopy of living light. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts over your orders. And your instincts tell you this will work. My instincts tell me it's worth trying. He turned to face her fully. Your people have something special, Salen. Something the galaxy needs, even if it doesn't know it yet. We just have to help them see it. As the moons traced their paths across the foreign sky, Salen felt a shift in the bioresonance fields around them. It was subtle, but unmistakable. the first tentative threads of connection between two vastly different species, reaching toward an uncertain future. The next morning brought the harsh reality of their situation into sharp focus. Long-range sensors detected Interrex scout ships probing the system's edge. They moved in coordinated patterns, testing response times and mapping defensive positions that no longer existed. In a hastily constructed operations center, Vale's team worked alongside Nerari volunteers to establish communication protocols. The cultural gap was immediately apparent. Humans relied on visual displays and rapid decision-making, while the Nerari processed information through bioresonance fields that built consensus gradually. "We're losing precious time," muttered Lieutenant Sarah Reeves, Vale's second-in-command. She watched with barely concealed frustration as a group of Nerari slowly harmonized their responses to a tactical simulation. "Different doesn't mean inferior," Vale reminded her quietly. "We need to adapt our methods, not force them to adopt ours." Salen appreciated his patience, but she could sense the mounting tension among the human personnel. They were warriors trained for decisive action, working with beings who had never contemplated violence. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. NYM, barely past adolescence by Nerari standards, had been observing the humans with intense curiosity. Unlike the elders, she showed no fear of their technology. "May I?" she asked, approaching the drone control station where Corporal James Chen worked. The young human looked to Vale, who nodded permission. "Sure," Chen said, gesturing to the interface. "Though I don't know if." NYM extended her tendrils toward the control surface, not touching, but hovering millimeters away. Her skin began cycling through rapid patterns, and suddenly the drone's status displays flickered. "What you doing?" Chun asked, fascination replacing his skepticism. "Feeling," NYM replied simply. "Your mind touches the machine here, yes? I can sense the echo of your intentions." Chen's eyes widened. "Are you reading my thoughts?" "Not thoughts," Salen interjected, moving closer. "Emotional resonance. The neural interface carries more than just commands. It transmits the operator's emotional state." Vale practically materialized beside them, his excitement barely contained. "Can you influence it?" "The drone's responses, I mean." NYM's patterns shifted to uncertainty. "I don't know. I've never tried to harmonize with something non-living before. But," she extended her awareness again, this time making contact with the interface. The effect was immediate and startling. The drone's movements, previously mechanical and precise, became fluid, almost organic. It responded to Chen's commands, but with an added layer of intuition, anticipating needs rather than merely following orders. "Incredible," Vale breathed. "You're not controlling it, you're enhancing the connection." "She's harmonizing the operator's intent with the machine's capabilities," Salen explained, her own patterns reflecting amazement, "creating a more perfect union between mind and tool." But NYM suddenly recoiled, her skin flashing distress patterns. "Something's wrong. I can feel hunger, aggression. It's not from your people." Vale's training kicked in instantly. "Interrex, closer than we thought," NYM whispered. "They're already in the outer groves. They're hunting." The operations center erupted into controlled chaos. On the tactical display, sensor data confirmed NYM's bioresonant detection. Multiple Interrex hunting packs had somehow bypassed the orbital sensors and landed in the southern forests. "How many?" Vale demanded. 3 packs, 20 individuals each," Reeves reported. "They're moving toward the Lumia groves. At current speed, they'll reach the settlement in less than 2 hours." Elder Thymel's expression was grave. "Those groves contain the last viable Lumia seeds. If they're destroyed, they won't be," Vale said firmly. He turned his team. "Prep all available drones for deployment. Standard defensive protocols." Then to Salen, "I need volunteers, Nerari, who can work with our operators like NYM just did." The Elder's patterns flashed warning. "You ask us to participate in violence. This goes against everything we are. I'm asking you to protect your world," Vale countered. "Not through violence, but through harmony. Show us another way." The debate might have continued, but reports from the outer settlements ended it. The Interrex weren't just hunting. They were systematically destroying the bioresonance network that connected the Nerari communities. Without it, coordination would become impossible. "I'll do it," Nwayam declared, her youth making her bold where elders hesitated. I felt how the machine could move, how it could be more than just a weapon. One by one, other young Nerari stepped forward. Salen felt pride and fear war within her, as her people chose adaptation over extinction. The next hour was a masterclass in improvised tactics. Human operators paired with Nerari resonators, each team learning to blend technological precision with biological intuition. The drones lifted into the twilight sky, their formations looking less like military assets and more like a flock of mechanical birds. From the command center, Vale coordinated the response. The main screen showed the Interrex advancing through the forest, their heat signatures burning bright against the cooler background. They moved with predatory confidence, unaware of the surveillance above. "This is different from our simulations," Chen observed, his hands dancing over the control interface, while NYM maintained her resonance beside him. "The drones are predictive. They're anticipating the Interrex movements. The forest is alive," NYM explained, her voice dreamy with concentration. "Every tree, every creature responds to the intruders. I'm not reading the Interrex directly. I'm feeling the forest's reaction to them." Vale nodded slowly. "Use it. Don't engage directly. Can you discourage them somehow?" Salen watched as her people's greatest gift transformed into something unprecedented. The drones began to move in patterns that mimicked natural phenomena. Sudden wind gusts that scattered scent trails, strategic shadows that suggested larger predators, subsonic vibrations that triggered instinctive unease in the Interrex. The hunting packs began to falter. Their coordinated advance broke apart as individuals responded to conflicting stimuli. Some turned back, others pressed forward only to find their prey animals had mysteriously vanished, warned away by the bioresonance network. "They're confused," Reeves reported, amazement creeping into her professional tone. "No direct engagement, but their formation is completely disrupted." The Interrex commander, a massive creature with chitinous armor and multiple eyes, roared in frustration. Its fellows began firing their weapons randomly into the canopy, trying to hit the unseen tormentors. "They're panicking," Vale observed. "But panic makes them more dangerous. We need to guide them out, not just confuse them." Salen felt the moment when her people truly understood. The bioresonance network pulsed with new purpose as every Nerari in range contributed to the effort. The forest itself became an instrument of protection, using the drones as extensions of its will. Paths appeared where none had existed before, game trails suddenly clear and inviting, leading away from the settlements. Light filtered through the canopy in specific patterns, creating an irresistible suggestion of easier hunting elsewhere. Even the air currents shifted, carrying the scent of prey animals toward the system's edge. The Interrex, masters of the hunt, found themselves being hunted by the environment itself. One by one, they followed the false trails, their predatory instincts overriding their original mission. Within an hour, the last of them had been herded back to their landing craft. As the Interrex ships lifted off, their occupants likely never realized they had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by the planet's own defense mechanisms, amplified through an impossible fusion of biology and technology. The command center erupted in celebration, humans and Nerari alike marveling at what they had accomplished. No lives had been lost on either side, yet the threat had been completely neutralized. "Did you see how they responded to the light patterns?" Chun exclaimed, still connected to NYM through the interface. "It was like we were speaking directly to their instincts." "Because you were," Salen explained, her own patterns bright with joy. NYM wasn't controlling the drones. She was translating the forest's natural defenses into technological action. Vale stood apart from the celebration, his expression thoughtful. Salen approached him, sensing deeper currents beneath his satisfaction. "You're not celebrating," she observed. "I'm thinking about the council," he admitted. "They just witnessed something that challenges everything they believe about power and protection. That's going to have consequences." As if his words had summoned it, the communication array crackled to life. The seal of the Galactic Accord filled the main screen, followed by the imposing figure of the council speaker. "Major Vale," the artificial voice intoned, "the council has observed your unconventional defensive action." "Explain." Vale stepped forward, squaring his shoulders. "We help the Nerari defend their world using their natural abilities in conjunction with human technology. No treaty violations, no aggressive action. Simply protection of a sentient species." The Nerari were removed from protected status, the speaker reminded him. "Your intervention defies the Council's directive." "Respectfully, the Council's directive was wrong," Vale replied, ignoring the shocked gasp from his own team. "The Nerari possess capabilities that defy traditional classification. They've just demonstrated a completely non-violent method of planetary defense." The speaker's multifaceted eyes whirled, processing this information. "The Council will need to review this claim. Full sensor data must be provided." "Already transmitting," Reeves confirmed, her fingers flying over the console. Long minutes passed as the Council apparently reviewed the engagement. Around the command center, both humans and Nerari waited in tense silence. Finally, the speaker's image returned. "This data suggests unprecedented applications of bioresonance technology. The Council acknowledges that our assessment criteria may require adjustment." Salen felt a surge of hope, but Vale's expression remained guarded. "What does that mean for the Nerari?" "It means," another voice interrupted, distinctly human, "that Earth's initiative has opened new possibilities." The image shifted to reveal Admiral Maria Vasquez, Earth's senior representative to the Council. "The Accord has voted to establish a joint research project, studying the integration of bioresonance with defensive technologies. The Nerari will be granted provisional protected status during this evaluation period." The Admiral's eyes found Vale through the transmission. "Well done, Major. You've not only saved a species, but potentially revolutionized our understanding of nonviolent defense." The President sends her personal commendation. As the transmission ended, the command center erupted again, this time with a different energy. The immediate threat had passed, but a new chapter was beginning. Elder Thymal approached Vale and Salen, his patterns now showing something she had rarely seen in the ancient Nerari. Hope mixed with wonder. "You have given us more than protection," he said slowly. "You have shown us that our nature need not be a weakness, that harmony can be strength." "We showed each other," Vale corrected gently. "Humanity brought the technology, but the Nerari brought something far more valuable, a different way of thinking about defense and protection." Over the following days, the transformation accelerated. Human engineers worked alongside Nerari harmonists, developing new applications for bioresonance technology. What had begun as a desperate experiment evolved into a genuine partnership. The research station established in the Lumia Groves became a symbol of this collaboration. Human and Nerari technologies intertwined like the forest vines, creating something entirely new. Delegations from other Accord worlds began arriving, drawn by reports of the revolutionary defensive system. Salen found herself at the center of it all, serving as both translator and bridge between cultures. She watched as her people's confidence grew, as they discovered that their gifts had applications they'd never imagined. "You know what impresses me most?" Vale said one evening as they watched the sunset paint the sky in impossible colors. The Lumia trees responded to the light show with their own bioluminescent display. "What's that?" Salen asked, her patterns settling into comfortable companionship. "How quickly your people adapted. The elders worried about losing your nature, but look at them now, teaching our xenobiologists about bioresonance while learning to interface with quantum computers." "And your people," Salen countered, accepting that strength doesn't always mean force. "That's not an easy lesson for a warrior culture." Vale laughed, a warm sound that the trees seemed to echo. Maybe we're all learning to be something more than what we were. The first major test came sooner than expected. 3 months after the initial Interex incursion, long-range sensors detected a massive fleet approaching, not just hunting packs, but a full invasion force. The command center, now fully integrated with human and Nerari personnel, responded with practiced efficiency. The old panic was gone, replaced by determined cooperation. 120 ships, Reeves reported calmly. Full military configuration. They'll reach orbital range in 6 hours. Elder Thymao, now a regular presence in tactical discussions, studied the display. They've learned from their hunters' reports. They won't be so easily misdirected this time. Then we don't misdirect, Vale decided. We demonstrate. Full defensive activation, but make it visible. Let them see what they're facing. The hours that followed showcased the full evolution of the hybrid defense system. Drones launched in perfect synchronization with the planet's bioresonance field, creating patterns that were as beautiful as they were functional. The forest itself pulsed with coordinated bioluminescence, turning the entire hemisphere into a living shield. But the true innovation lay in what NYM and her fellow resonators had developed, the ability to project emotional resonance through the electronic warfare suite. As the Interex fleet approached, they were bombarded not with weapons, but with the overwhelming sensation of unity of countless species standing together in defense of life. The psychological effect was profound. Interex were predators, evolved to hunt isolated prey. The coordinated response of an entire ecosystem, amplified through technology and projected directly into their consciousness, triggered deep instinctive confusion. Their fleet formation wavered, then broke apart as individual commanders struggled with conflicting impulses. Some ships actually collided as their pilots experienced the unprecedented sensation of being simultaneously predator and prey. They're withdrawing, Chin reported, amazement clear in his voice. No shots fired, no casualties, but they're in full retreat. The main screen flickered, and the feared Interex Supreme Commander appeared, a creature that had never before communicated with other species. "What are you?" it growled, the translator struggling with its complex vocalizations. Vale stepped forward, but it was Salen who answered. "We are harmony," she said simply. "We are what happens when strength serves life rather than death." The commander's multiple eyes focused on her, then on the human standing beside her. "This is unprecedented. We will consider." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Then, slowly, celebration began. Not the wild joy of survival, but the deeper satisfaction of transformation. The months that followed brought rapid change to the galaxy. The Nerari human defense protocol became a template for other peaceful species seeking protection without militarization. The Galactic Council established new categories for evaluating species contributions, recognizing that diversity of approach was itself a strength. Salen found herself appointed to a new position, Ambassador for Alternative Defense Initiatives. She traveled between worlds, teaching the principles of bioresonance and demonstrating how apparent weakness could become unexpected strength. Vale received promotion and reassignment, leading Earth's new Harmony Division, military units trained to work with nonviolent species in developing unique defensive capabilities. Their methods were studied in war colleges across the galaxy, revolutionizing strategic thinking. On the anniversary of humanity's decision to stay, a monument was erected in the Lumia Groves. It was neither human nor Nerari in design, but something new, crystalline structures that resonated with both electromagnetic and bioresonance frequencies, creating patterns that spoke to any conscious being regardless of their sensory modalities. The dedication ceremony drew representatives from across the galaxy. Even the Interex sent an observer, their recent treaty with the Nerari marking the first time they had ever agreed to non-aggression with a prey species. A year ago, the galaxy abandoned us. Salen spoke to the assembled dignitaries, her words carried by both technology and bioresonance. Everyone gave up on the Nerari, seeing no value in our way of being. But one species chose differently. Not because they needed us, not because they could use us, but because they believed our existence had inherent worth. She turned to the human delegation, her patterns flowing with deep gratitude. Humanity stayed when everyone else left. They saw potential where others saw weakness. And together, we've shown that there are many forms of strength, many paths to security. Vale stood as she gestured to him, his dress uniform bearing the new insignia of the Harmony Division, a blend of military rank and Nerari resonance patterns. Humanity has its own struggles with violence and warfare, he acknowledged. We're not perfect, far from it. But when we see something worth protecting, we protect it. And in doing so, sometimes we discover new parts of ourselves. As the ceremony concluded, delegates mingled in the bioluminescent twilight. Salen noticed how naturally different species now interacted, the rigid hierarchies of the old accord giving way to more fluid relationships. NYM approached, now wearing the dual insignia of a Nerari resonator and human technical specialist. Ambassador, the Council is requesting a demonstration of the new emotional harmonization protocols. Several species are interested in adaptation for their own worlds. Salen smiled, a human expression she'd adopted. Of course, but first take a moment. Look at what we've built. They stood together, human, Nerari, and the growing circle of allies drawn to their example. The Lumia trees pulsed with gentle light, their ancient wisdom now enhanced by quantum processors and defensive satellites. It was a perfect fusion of nature and technology, of empathy and strength. The Council may have abandoned us, Thymal observed, joining their group. But in doing so, they gave us the greatest gift, the chance to become something new. And we all learned something, Vale added, accepting a luminescent drink from a passing server drone. The galaxy is vast and full of different kinds of strength. Humanity chose to stand with an Nerari, not despite their differences, but because of them. As the gathering continued into the night, stories were shared across species lines. The Vorthan spoke of adapting bioresonance to enhance their collective consciousness. The Mentari described experiments in using emotional harmonics to heal psychological trauma from their recent wars. Even the reclusive Axiom had sent observers, intrigued by the possibility of nonviolent interaction. Looking up at the stars, Salen reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy that had once measured worth only in military might and economic power was beginning to see value in empathy, in harmony, in the simple act of understanding rather than conquering. "What are you thinking?" Vale asked, following her gaze skyward. "That abandon doesn't mean worthless," she replied. "Sometimes it just means waiting for someone to see your true value. And sometimes," he added, "it means teaching the whole galaxy a new definition of strength." The stars above seemed to pulse in agreement, their light mixing with the bioluminescence of the trees. And the gentle glow of floating platforms where beings from 100 worlds celebrated not just survival, but transformation. In the years that followed, historians would mark this moment as a turning point, when a galaxy learned that there was more than one way to be strong, more than one path to security. They would speak of the Nerari crisis as the catalyst that changed everything, the moment when humanity's stubborn insistence on doing what was right over what was expedient sparked a revolution in galactic thinking. But for those who lived it, for Salen, Vale, NYM, and all the others who had worked to forge something new from the threat of extinction, it was simpler than that. It was the moment when two species, as different as biology would allow, discovered that their differences were not weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to be combined. The monument in Illumia Groves became a pilgrimage site, visited by those seeking to understand how apparent weakness could become unprecedented strength. The inscription, written in every known language and transmitted in both electromagnetic and bioresonance frequencies, read simply, "Here stands testament to the day the galaxy learned. True strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the courage to protect. When all others departed, humanity remained. When extinction loomed, harmony prevailed. May all who come here remember, there is no being so small, no gift so quiet, that it cannot change the universe. The Nerari have been abandoned by everyone except humanity. And in that abandonment, in that single act of defiance against the cold logic of the cosmos, both species found their greatest triumph. They had not just survived, they had evolved together into something the galaxy had never seen before. Something beautiful, something powerful, something worth protecting. The stars continued their ancient dance overhead, but now they watched over a galaxy where empathy had its own strength, where harmony could turn back armies, and where the simple act of staying when everyone else left had rewritten the rules of civilization itself. Everyone had given up on the Nerari, everyone except humanity, and that, in the end, made all the difference.